Come on, guys.
No, pues allá en la estación se la pone en la bolsa, ¿ok? La moneda. Lo que es moneda, dinero de papel, va en la bolsa, en el pantalón.
Guatemala? Guatemala?
No.
Hey guys, it's Jim. We're down on the US-New Mexico border. We're here. You can see this is the fence back here. This is a little further down. What they did is they walked this way this time. So there's the wall. They came down the road here, and then this is where they got them staged. I don't know what the word we're supposed to use, the politically correct word. So we're just gonna say people sitting on the ground. Okay. Anyway, you can see lots of kids. You know, those are the passport. You don't have the kid, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Plus, you end up getting a little bit more money when you have a kid as well. Now what'll happen is that these guys will go to processing, and what processing basically is the van comes over here and picks them up, and there's the van, or no, maybe that's not the van coming yet, but the van will come and pick them up, and then they do a criminal background check on them. If they have a background to check, not everybody does. The kids, very difficult to prove that the children that are with them actually belong to the adult that they're with. That's the one thing you guys have to keep in mind. The kids don't come with passports and birth certificates. So typically what happens is that if the adult checks out, even if there's no background on the adult, they'll leave after they get their court date. They'll leave with that parent for the 5 to 7 years, and then what happens from there, nobody really knows, because they disappear a lot of times into the cracks of society. And again, if they're fraudulent asylum claimers, then what that means is that for 5 to 7 years, we're not going to know. So when they talk about the crisis, it's not just a crisis of national security. It's not just a crisis of being a strain on the Border Patrol. It's also a crisis of children being trafficked, even in these groups that have asylum claimers. Okay, so understand that, especially if you're from the left and you don't understand that only 5 or 10% of these people actually qualify for legitimate asylum. Okay, understand that the children are being taken advantage of. So the U.S., until we change the laws here, until we start getting more serious and deter these people from making the big journey from down south, we have got to realize that we're encouraging these people, because we're telling them if they have a child, it's going to be a much easier deal for them to get in. So some food to think about. That's something that the media won't tell you. They don't talk about it a lot. You know, but at the same time, children are being used in these groups. I've said it before. If we have a lot of people coming in, there's a good probability that the children don't belong to them. So they rent kids, they recycle kids. You know, again, there used to be a law called lying to a federal agent. Border Patrol are federal agents, and they're being lied to all the time. So, you know, that's one of the other things I don't understand. A lot of laws being broken by the illegal immigrants crossing illegally through our fence that aren't being enforced because of this blanket narrative that everybody here is trying to escape some kind of imminent threat to their life. And we know that's not true. We know that there's a small percentage that are, and what happens is when you let everybody cry wolf, and you let them cry wolf and cry wolf and cry wolf, it becomes difficult for anybody to determine what is a valid asylum claim and what's not a valid asylum claim. Some of these people, you'll notice, are dressed nicer than you and I. You know, where do they get the money for this? Who's funding their travel? You know, and when they get to this side of the border, when they get through processing, they end up getting funding, they get sponsored, they get health care, you know, they have to go to school. And I mean, they're not just going to hang out here in the El Paso sector. They're being bused and flown to cities all over the country. So, you know, when you hear the left speaking about crime rates or numbers, those numbers aren't real. The numbers aren't real at all. The numbers are referring specifically to what's happening in El Paso. But the fact of the matter is, most of these people have no intention of staying in El Paso. So when they disappear into the crack of society, which they will, that's what's going to happen to them, and they'll just be included in other statistics. And it's not even that all of them are criminals. It's just the mere fact that if you don't need to come in, if you don't truly have economic hardship, or you're not truly fleeing some type of an imminent threat, and you're just being used by an agenda to bring people in what I call the non-violent invasion, then you know, either way, it's still a crisis, because we're allowing it to happen. We're not enforcing our border laws, and we're encouraging people to continue to make the trip. And there's lots of people on their way here that are still in Mexico. We're getting some groups that reports that, you know, are a little bit more aggressive. So that's coming towards the border, and you know, I just wanted to show you guys that this is every day. Every day we're seeing this, and I got a feeling before the night's over, we're going to have some really large numbers, because like I said, even the cartel has to take a break, okay? So they're going to take a break for the weekend. It's Easter, and so today being the day that it is, Friday, they're probably going to say, look, this is your last chance before Monday, and we'll see what happens.